We're back again with this image, and as you can see, a good bit more has been done on it. And all I want to do here in this little video is just break things down a bit. So this is the illustration so far, not complete as you can see, and I still have a background to do. But I want to show with this particular example how the digital painted elements, so raster elements, can work along with the vector elements, and how this type of subject would be really the first, the best, a good example for this. So let me turn off some whole bunch of layers here. There we go, and I'll turn this one off too, right there. So we were back to this one here, right? And kind of seeing how this builds up. As we mentioned before, there's the underside. Again, this is a vector shape layer, the main one clipping mask. This piece right here, you can see, is a vector shape layer, just made with the pen tool to make pretty simple polygons. And of course, the bottom vector shape layer is acting as a clipping mask for this shape layer. So I don't have to actually try and match this outside bit perfectly. I can just have it extend way back here. There's the clipping mask. So a little bit there for the nose, and again, vector shape layer there. Now this is my painted layer right there. This is all just painted with some pretty simple standard Photoshop brushes. And in fact, just with really two, and they're the two brushes that I tend to use most. But there's not really a whole lot going on. We zoom in here really tight, you can see how it's quite loose and painterly, almost a bit impressionistic. Now, if I were trying to paint this whole thing or create a raster image for the whole thing and not use vector tools, I would probably be a bit more precise and careful in the painting. But the idea here is that I don't have to do that because of the vector shapes that give them these nice crisp edges. So what's going to take all this and make it actually come together and look a whole lot better? Well, one thing is going to be the shadow layer on top. So let me turn this one on right there. So there's the shadow layer, and that does begin to add some good definition. And with things like this, you can use a brush and just click and then shift click to make a line. Often I might just make a selection with the polygonal lasso and fill it for these nice crisp edges here, but then things like this would have to be hand painted. So let's go back here and then turn on, well, actually I was going to say reflections. We'll do that a bit later. So we've got just a little bit of items here, and these are actually from images I pulled off the internet and just kind of put on here so I wouldn't have to recreate all these graphics and all that. But then there's some logos here on the wings and white. So this, of course, is a whole bunch of vector shapes on one layer, and you can see them all around. And of course, the shadow layer on top gives it some nice sort of curvature right along there. But these are all just one solid color. And if you can see here, I'm actually using screen mode and taking the opacity down so they're not too bright and white. White never really is white, and if I do want to use pure white, I'm going to use that for something that is glowing or luminous, but something painted white wouldn't really be that white. So I've got these little white details, and these are hand painted with a brush, very, very small brush. And if you look, you can see they're just kind of little scribbles. In many cases, they are words, things like this right here, but they're not really going to be seen or understood. All I have to do is allude to them, and they're just going to add a little bit to the overall detail of the plane and try and get some sort of textural quality on the surface. So they're actually painted with using the same color as these vector shapes here. So then a little logo painted right there, some text, and then right here I've got some of these black areas painted right along in there. There we go. And there we go. So here's where we get to some of the important details, and you can see these are vector shapes. And the important thing about them here is that the fill is 0. Notice that right there. So if I take a look at their the layer styles here, there's a stroke and there's an inner glow. And the inner glow, of course, is dark. And that's really it. And it's just to give this look of separate individualized parts on the top of the plane. But the important part here is that the fill is 0. That means it doesn't matter what color this shape layer is, or actually any type of layer. All those pixels are going to be transparent, but the layer styles here, bevel and emboss, stroke, and inner glow, are going to go around the actual edge of the shape there. So that's the difference between the fill and the opacity. I don't want to take the opacity to 0 because then you wouldn't see the layer styles. But with the fill to 0, you'll see the layer styles, just not the actual shape or pixels on that layer. And so that really helps out quite a bit to give some definition to some of these surfaces right there. And then we'll go and turn on this next one here, far panels. Same type of thing. So again, just simple polygons and just a little bit of an outer, or actually a stroke right in the center, so it goes inner and outer. And then we have the panels right here, these front panels. And one thing that you notice a lot on many designs for the F-35, and that's what this is they sort of these panels that have this sort of like this outline or broad stroke around them. So I'm kind of suggesting that right here. And then we've got another little added shape right there. And then little circles, as we saw in the previous video. And then just kind of adding up a bit here. We've got, on this layer, we've got little lines. And so they're going to be little seams and segments and panels and all that, just to kind of help sort of distinguish one little bit from another on the plane. Because it's not all one piece, all these little pieces kind of fit together. So again, this is just bits done with the line tool. And we've got a little piece right there in front. And then on the shadow, I have this little dark details one where I'm painting in these little dark areas. And this layer here is in multiply mode. So see if I turn this off, we have that. I turn it back on. This really gets a lot of little suggestion of, again, seams and panels and little bevels and things, just so that it gives a good bit of surface texture to it. And it was the last little bit I was adding to try and get this to all come together. And then I've got these small little details here. There's a little piece sticking up here, some little pieces right here, and some little sensor right there. And you can see, of course, those are in their separate layer group, and they aren't clipped to this main shape because at least one of them sticks out here. But I'm going to come back here to this layer here, which I hadn't turned on before, and that's this reflections layer. So as I turn that on, you can see just a little bit of suggestion of paint of this pretty much white piece sticking up, reflecting a little bit into the surface right there, and also some of this sort of intake reflecting the surfaces, and then a bit from this this tail fin. And so sometimes just little things like the reflections can just add stuff really coming together and make it give it that extra bit of realism that you need. So zooming back out, that's it. That's all it is. And this, what really makes this possible is the combination of raster hand-painted details with a brush with the vector details that are nice and crisp and perfect. Perfect straight lines, geometrical shapes, and then the layer styles that kind of accent them there. So just a really quick one here to show how all these elements come together and work to give you this final end result. So again, if you're illustrating something that is artificial with these very hard edges, think about combining the vector shape tools with raster painting tools, and I think that's where you can get some of the best results, and that's where some of the really powerful tools of Photoshop come together and give you a great end result. Hope you like it, and we'll see how this ends up when it's done.